Welcome to What's the Scenario with PLRB, where we explore claims and coverage scenarios relevant to insurance professionals. I'm Alicia Watley.
I'm Mike Rode.
I'm Tim Havler.
And I'm Brennan McLaughlin, Education Counsel at PLRB.
And also producer of What's the Scenario with PLRB.
The man behind the scenes.
We get to hear your voice for once.
That's right, I'm out from behind the curtain. Yeah.
Except at the and the disclaimer at the end, which is my favorite part. That's also Brennan's doing.
All right, so Brennan, I get to ask you, what's the scenario?
All right, well, this week our insured is DonutBurgers, the only fast food chain where everything is shaped like a donut. It's not easy work standing over a hot fryer making french fry rings all day. So today's fry cook isn't in the best mood when the cashier starts complaining about incorrect orders and U-shaped burgers. After the lunch rush, two employees sneak out while still on the clock and still in their uniforms and step over to the neighboring gas station parking lot for a fistfight.
Yeah.
The injured employee hopes DonutBurgers' insurer will cover their defense against the other employee, the aggressor.
Well. People who want to handle things with their fists. Interesting.
That escalated quickly.
It really did. So, I don't know if we're a fast food. Well, I'm definitely a fast food eater. Who has the best fries? Let's start there.
Best fries?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When they're hot and fresh, or when they've been sitting out for a while? Because then I have different answers.
The only way to eat them is hot and fresh.
Right.
Okay, I'll go with McDonald's then.
Well, what's the other option? Yeah.
If they've been sitting around for a while.
Anything else? Because when they're sitting around, they get cold and soggy and kind of gross. And then I'll go for I don't know. Usually the other ones preserve a little bit better.
Depends on what they're made of. So the trick to getting like fresh fries at McDonald's, right?
No, what's the trick?
Oh, you always order them with no salt.
Oh.
And that's how you get them fresh.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't know if it's considered fast food or not, but I mean, Five Guys burgers, if it's fast food, it's kind of pricey, but I think their fries are pretty awesome. But I'm with Tim. If it's traditional fast food like McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, it's McDonald's fries at the top.
See, I got to go for the curly fries. I guess that puts me at like Arby's or something like that.
They're good.
Yeah.
They're good.
Those are good. Actually, I just got roped into this, but Shake Shack has really good fries. Their fries are so good.
We don't have one of those fancy things here in Ohio yet.
Mm.
I'll look forward to that as we travel.
All right, so we've already talked fast food. We're talking about DonutBurgers, employees sneaking out while on the clock and in their uniforms. After the fight, who is responsible for bodily injury?
Well, speaking generally, insurance does cover bodily injury. I mean, it's those sums that the insured becomes legally obligated to pay as damages because of bodily injury. And insurance does generally have a duty to defend the insured against any suits seeking those damages. So generally, if there's bodily injury, the DonutBurgers insurer would step in. But policy usually states, however, we have no duty to defend the insured against any suit seeking damages, bodily injury, or property damage, to which insurance does not apply, which is, pretty common sense. In this case, though, there is a trick here. We have to, look at if the bodily injury was caused by an occurrence.
And what, pray tell, would an occurrence be there, Brennan?
Well, I've seen occurrence defined as an accident, including continuous or repeated exposure to substantially the same general harmful conditions. Maybe we'll get into that clause on a different episode. But generally, the idea we talk about an accident is just the idea that insurance is intended to protect people from fortuity. We're talking about chance accidents. You can't just do something on purpose and then expect insurance to pay for it.
Like
In this
punch
case, talking
another
about
person, right?
right, we're talking about a fist fight here.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Brennan, what about the idea that it was the employee who did the punching, but probably the employer who had the insurance?
Well, usually, when you talk about an employee, you're talking about the employer can be responsible for their behavior, especially when it's something they're doing as part of their work. In this case, it's an assault. And in cases where an employee is sued for committing an assault, the insurer is usually not required to defend that, based on the fortuity that we just talked about. And also, there's usually an extended or intended injury exclusion. But that being said, the next claim usually filed is for negligence. Talk about negligent hiring, negligent background investigation, negligent training, negligent supervision. So it's not that the employee's actions are the thing that their employer is suddenly responsible for, but maybe the idea is that the insured failed to train the employees, not to do this, not to leave on the clock, to handle conflict in a certain way. They should have procedures, or maybe there was something in their employee application when they first applied that they missed. So there could be other allegations like that could reach at the employer.
And in this case, by assault, we didn't mean they were just adding salt to Alicia's fries, right?
No salt on my fries. That's how you get them fresh.
Oh, so no assault, Alicia.
If you put enough salt on, it might feel like an assault.
As you rub salt into the wounds, we get it.
There you go.
So for me, being the simple man, the thing here is not so much, not only do you look at two folks that were punching each other, probably can't see how that's an occurrence and had nothing to do with their employment. So to get around that, when they're bringing a suit, they're trying to say that, well, don't look at their actions, look at what the employer did or didn't do when they're hiring them or training them, and that's why we're going after the employer. Is that the gist of it, Brennan, that you're getting at?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Then I got it. Well, I was just going to ask, so this was a lawsuit, a court case, so what happened, Brennan?
Well,
Sue, what happened?
Yeah, this is based on a real case. This is based on Safety National Casualty Corporation versus Bender. That was the United States. And in that case, the district court, they noted that, hey, they're in uniforms, they're on the clock, right? And there is some negligence alleged in the complaint. And those are kind of a lot of elements you would see in cases that would reach, the insurer and trigger a duty to defend. But in this case, the policy provided coverage to employees only for acts within the scope of their employment or the conduct of the business. And the crux of the complaint centered on intentional conduct that was not related to business operations. I mean, maybe you were mad about something that happened at work, but fighting really isn't part of your job. So in this case, even though there were some of these elements that you would see in a case where a duty would be triggered, the court looked at it and said the crux of it was not something that the insurer has a duty to defend.
Cool.
Makes you wonder in that scenario who was the supervisor or who had like authority over the other. Like cashier, I'm sure the fry cook is ranked higher than the cashier, but where's
No,
the manager?
I don't know
how
about
dare
that.
you defame the cashiers? Cashiers the most important job in the restaurant. They have the money.
Well, they have to watch out for the money. True.
See?
Yeah, but the fry cooks have the most important job because they have the fries.
See?
That they cook.
No cook, no food.
I feel like they're doubling up on jobs nowadays. So they used to have the 2 windows or you would order at one window and then pick up at the other. Now they've all gone to one window. I feel like they're having everybody do multiple jobs nowadays. I don't know.
And actually, if you go in some restaurants, you place an order through the kiosk.
Ooh.
Yeah. DonutBurgers has got to upgrade. It's not like McDonald's where you can just do everything on the app.
Well, if they didn't have people fighting, maybe they'd focus on expanding.
Right.
So, Brennan, was there something specifically about the state law in that case that impacted this decision?
Yeah, this was actually, Nevada law applied, and it touches on the question of, they actually stepped off premises, right? They were in their uniforms on the clock, but they weren't there. They took that step across the property line into a different business's property. So in this case, the court looked at Nevada law, says where a policy like the one here states that employees are only covered for acts that fall within the scope of their employment or while performing duties related to the conduct of the insured's businesses. Intentional torts or acts committed by the insured's employee do not qualify as occurrences under an insurance policy, and further precluded under not just, for concept of fortuity, but also this exclusion we briefly mentioned, expected or intended acts. So again, even at that point, even if when you have a law that's that explicit, that's coming right out and saying does not qualify as an occurrence, even if they had shifted the parking lot onto the premises of the restaurant, it's hard to say how punching someone could be within their scope of employment. Can we come up with a scenario where maybe it is? You think of maybe like a nightclub and a bouncer. And for those situations, some insurers do have assault and battery endorsements, but maybe we'll get into that next episode.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
A preview for the next. All right, so Brennan, what can we take away from this scenario?
Well, one thing to take away is the employee's intentional tort likely will not qualify as an occurrence to create coverage for the employer's insurer. Negligent, an allegation of negligent hiring, supervision, that sort of thing might qualify as an occurrence to create that kind of duty to defend. In this particular case, the court found the injury, the assault, so removed from the employee's scope of employment that it found no occurrence to exist, even though there was some negligence alleged.
Interesting. And Mike, where can an adjuster go to learn more?
Well, first and foremost, Tim, make sure that you're subscribed to our newsletter, Frontlines, because you'll get cases like this as they come down that are newly reported and will be outlined there. But yeah, you can research this case. We'll have it on our website. We also have some great policy annotations and breakdowns on items like occurrence and accident, how they're defined, how different states look at it. And there's even a case out there where can there be an occurrence when the insured's employee deliberately strikes a customer with what? With a baseball bat. Boom!
What?
That would be painful. So yeah, I would say check out PLRB, because that right there alone, just even reading that makes me want to go out and research it and read about that case, because that sounds darn interesting. And Alicia, as always, would you put that somewhere in the show notes?
Absolutely. We can put the links in the show notes. We can also have a recap of the key points from today's episode. We'll also have links to our social media and information on how to submit your own adjuster story. So, as always, don't forget to subscribe, give us a great rating. We hope that you're enjoying our time here at What's the Scenario with PLRB, and we hope to see you next time.
Yay.
Bye.
The views and opinions expressed in this resource are those of the individual speaker and not necessarily those of the Property and Liability Resource Bureau, its membership, or any organization with which the presenter is employed or affiliated. The information, ideas, and opinions are presented as information only and not as legal advice or offers of representation.
Individual policy language and state laws vary, and listeners should rely on guidance from their companies and counsel as appropriate.